Very much, Mara.
Welcome, everyone. If you're just joining in, we are joined today by Penina Zilberman, who was born in Israel to Romanian survivor parents. She now serves as the director of the Toronto Holocaust Museum, where she also has connections to Toronto. She is also the founder and CEO of Tarbut Sighet Foundation, which I'm sure she'll also tell us a little bit about throughout her presentation. And I will say that Gail's father was born in Sighet. So
Wow.
we have people.
Gail, and what was the last name? What's the last name?
We'll see if she Katz.
Thank you.
And for everyone asking, the recording will be made available at the end, so you can share this with anyone you'd like. So Penina, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Mara, and welcome everybody. Shalom from Israel. I spent the winters in Israel and spring and summer in Romania. So we didn't really have a winter. I feel very bad about the North American winter. My two children that live in Toronto keep me posted. So today we are going to go to Romania, and it's Romania, Romania, Romania. It's a very famous song, and we have the mamaliga, which is food, suike, which we drink, and hora, which we dance. And I will take you today as much as possible within the time limit to get a feeling about Romania. As you heard, I was born to Romanian survivors' parents, and then we moved to Canada. I was the director of the museum, and when I took early retirement, I decided to go and do something unique in Romania. So let's start. Here we see the map of Romania pre-1945. And the reason why I show it is because I want you to see who the neighbors were of Romania. There was Poland, there was Czechoslovakia, which today we have the Czech Republic and the Slovakia. We had Hungary. We had Yugoslavia, no longer such a country. We have other countries there. Croatia, Bulgaria stayed in the same place. Of course, the Black Sea is there. Now, on the right hand, we had the Russian, the USSR, which today is partly Ukraine and partly USSR. And today, we also are not bordering anymore with Poland nor with Slovakia. We simply border all this area with Ukraine. And my father's family came from Bucharest, here at the capital, and my mother's family came from Sighet. Maramuresh is the region. Now, Romania was given the name by the Romans. The language is called Romanian. It belongs to the Latin family languages. So if you speak French, Spanish, you can understand Romanian also. Capital, as I mentioned, is Bucharest, and the population as of the last census is 20 million. I just read this morning in the news from Bucharest that the number is diminishing. Families no longer have 4 kids, but 1 or none. Now, what happened to Romania through the years? It used to be a principality. In other words, a certain region was ruled by a prince, quite similar to the Middle Ages. And he had the authority over the people, over the land, everything. And almost nobody really had any citizenship rights. Everybody was under the prince. it became a state in 1866. Now, certain parts of Romania were also conquered by various empires that no longer exist. The Ottoman Empire, which in brackets also Israel was once upon a time under the Ottoman Empire. So those are the years that they ruled, and they ruled basically, if we look at the map, over the Balkan area, which is the southern area of Romania, close to, of course, Turkey and Greece. And then Romania was ruled by the Austro-Hungarians until the end of First World War. So all northern Transylvania, all this area, that's why people speak German and Hungarian until today. And Bukovina, here, the people spoke really most of the time German, because the Emperor Franz Joseph brought from Vienna many Jews to live here and to bring the economy to a higher level. Okay? So we finished with the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. Romania becomes independent at the end of World War I, 1918. 1948, it becomes a communist state. I kind of skipped here their own Holocaust. I'll touch it later. And in December 1989 was the revolution against Ceausescu. And so today, the country is a republic, social democrat. But the problem is that it's 33 years since the revolution. However, the first 10 to 20 years, many of the rulers who sat in the parliament were people that were coming from the communist era. Therefore, they were saying democracy, but they didn't practice it. This is today, and now you can see the borders. We have Ukraine, we have Hungary, we have Serbia, Croatia, Bulgaria, and Moldova. Moldova, it's kind of adopted to Romania. Now, I will be speaking also about Bucharest, capital. Iași is the second city. Cluj, Napoca is the third city. Then we have here Oradea and Timișoara. They're little cities, smaller, but not with great significance. This is the family of my late mother from Sighet. This is my mother. This picture was taken towards the end of the 30s. It's in front of their house. The eldest son, Joseph, who used to be already a lawyer. And there is Nachman, and there's my mother, Shari, and her sister, and the 4 boys. I know their names, but I don't know who is who. The 3 that survived was Nachman, the second son, my mother, Shari, and her sister, Tamar in Hebrew, or Agi. Agi is a Hungarian name. He unfortunately was supposedly, this is the story, caught that he was giving out in Sighet leaflets of communism, and therefore he was deported to a labor camp in what's today Ukraine, and he never came back. It's the Walter family, and I am named Pnina after my grandmother, Perla. This is the grandparents on my father's side, the Zilberman, that I carry the name. It's Elise, a very cultural and very special lady. She was very well educated. For her era, she was speaking 5 languages, was very well educated. She did have 2 brothers, but her parents, actually her mother, because when she was 10, her father died, decided to send her what was called in that era pension. Now, pension was a school of nuns, and you would learn there arts, no cooking, but you will learn how to handle a house. You would learn geography, music, great emphasis on general culture and languages. And this is my grandfather, Yaakov in Hebrew. He was a tailor. And through the years when they came to Bucharest, because they are not originally from Bucharest. Grandma was born in Ploiești, grandpa in Piatra Neamț. Both of them met in the city of Buzău, and after their marriage, they moved to Bucharest. Grandpa was one of the tailors of the king. He had 3 tailors, so he was one of them. That did help them during the war. As you found in the information, Bucharest was known as Little Paris. The Romanians felt very close to France, to the language. In certain circles, the academia or the better, well-educated, they used to like to speak in French. And actually, during communism time, was not allowed to learn English, but French and German was okay. So showing how much they love France, you see the Arc of the Triomphe, you see here a street in Bucharest back in the 30s. The best years of many of the cities and the life in Romania was between the 2 wars, 18 to 1939. Even though in 1939 it didn't affect Romania, it started to affect in the beginning of the 40s. Still, I use this as a number. Here is called Hotel Capsha. At the bottom here is a coffee house. Now, this picture was taken about close to 8 years ago. So since then, last summer, they renovated the coffee shop. But what's important about this place, it's on the street that's called Calea Victorii, the Road of Victoria, and it's at the corner, at the intersection of Boulevard Elizabeth. Both were queens, so that's why these names. Now, downstairs here in the coffee shop was the place where all the artsy people, as I said, between the 2 wars would meet. Grandma Elise was not just a cultured woman, she was what we call today a philanthropist. And she supported an artist that came from Armenia. Vartanian Paul was his name. Unfortunately, when the Russians entered in Bucharest in 45, when it started to have the government that they wanted to establish, they took him away and they never saw him. Today, Hotel Capsha, I just noticed this past summer, started to have a different kind of people coming there, and the cakes are delicious. Well, we will talk about the food later. Now, there is an interesting phenomena that we need to remember about Romania. The first Jewish people were actually Sfaradim. or the way we say in Romanian, Spaniol. And why did they come, or how did they get there? Well, through the Ottoman Empire. Ottoman Empire, when they came to Romania, they brought the doctors, the merchants, and any other professionals that they needed, and most of them were Jews. Now, how come the Spanish Jewry was in Turkey? We have to go back to the expulsion from Spain in 1492. And so the only thing that's left today, unfortunately, a remnant of that community is the cemetery. As you can see here, Cimitirul Evreiesc de Rite Spaniolă, the Jewish cemetery of Rite is like a nation, group of people of Spaniols. I always heard from Grandma Elise that her great-grandmother was of Spanish origin. And maybe 25 years ago, me and my late father went to this cemetery, Spaniol, and we found the grave of my grandmother's great-grandmother. So there is proof to that now. And the other interesting thing in this cemetery is to see this obelisk that is dedicated to the Jewish soldiers who fought in the First World War. By the way, my grandfather that you saw from Sighet in the picture, he also fought for the Austro-Hungarian Empire in the First World War. He was stationed in Italy, and he wasn't home for 7 years. And guess what? That's why there was the difference between the older children and the very young, the difference since the father was not home. Now, today, if you are asking someone, are you of a Spaniol or a Spanish descendant? They really don't know, or very few will know. Now, where are they? They used to be about 10,000. Before the Second World War, they left, either because of marriage or either because they felt that the place it's not for them. They moved to Switzerland, they moved to France and to UK. And whatever was left came to Israel because there was a great migration of Jewish people between 45 and 50, and then in the early 60s. Now, art and culture is extremely important for Romanians. As a matter of fact, if you apply for a job to be a director and you don't have a PhD, in many ways, your application is put aside right away. They emphasize extremely academia and studies. So definitely a BA or a master would not make it. If you promise that you are willing to study or something, maybe. But if they have somebody with a PhD, right away he's hired. Now, who did I put here in the art? Number one, sculpturer, and maybe you've heard about him, Constantin Brancuș. I have here 3 pieces that he sculptured. His exhibit is presently in Brussels, Belgium. His artwork is selling for millions. And he himself died, as you probably can imagine, extremely poor. He walked Romania from Iași, that I showed you where Iași was on the map, to France. He walked, literally walked. Took him close to 6 months. And that's when he arrived in France, in Paris, and developed his techniques and his artwork. Mihai Eminescu, a writer. Elie Wiesel, let's not forget, he was born in Sighet. and we take great pride in him. Then Nikita Stanescu is another author, Ana Blandianu, who her father was for many years in jail during Ceausescu. Actually, during Ceausescu time, if you were an artist at all levels, meaning a painter, an author, a poet, an actor, he always thought that all these groups of people are against him. Well, they were against the way he was ruling the rest of the country. So he created about 100 jails where he would put people there. And Ana Bladianu's father was in the jail in Sighet. And right after the revolution, she created a museum in memory of all those who were there. So she is a very creative person, and she herself is an author. Now we have Marcel Iancu, a Jewish artist born in Romania, who started the Dada movement. And if you've been in Israel and you visited the Museum of Dada, which is dedicated to Marcel Iancu in Ein Hod, is beautiful. And if you are planning to come, then please make sure to have it on your list. Very well done, and it's worth it to be there. Now, following, I decided to put this because it does relate to culture. The EU in Europe is choosing every year 3 cities that are titled cultural cities. Now, the city Timișoara, which I did show it to you on the map, close today to Hungary and the former Yugoslavia area, has been chosen to be back in 2020. But of course, we were locked in with Corona or COVID-19, and it was postponed. So we are pleased to announce that it's been this year, the year to be cultural city for Timișoara. The opening ceremonies are February 17 to 19. And as you recall, I showed you Brancuș art. All the exhibit from Brussels is coming now, September 2023, to Timișoara. So it's going to be very special. Now, what I show here is number one, this symbol, when you walk around Romania, it's the symbol that this monument has a historic value. And this is the address, number 6, Strada Mărișești, where the major synagogue that was restored is. And this is the one of the panels of the synagogue that has been restored. It took about 10 years. It's not completely, but it's, let's say, 75 to 80%. And you see here how it says in Hebrew, Ishtachavu la'Adonai Lashem behadrat kodesh, which is taken directly from the Siddur. And here we are coming to Bucharest. Now, Bucharest has this synagogue as the major community one. It was built, as you can see, 1864 to 1866. It was built by the same architect that built in Vienna the Great Synagogue. You can see the Moorish style. Inside there are some marvelous murals and lots of gold and lots of really, really pretty artwork. Now, in 1977, there was a real disaster in Bucharest. There was an earthquake, 7.6. Many buildings. Unfortunate, lots of people died or were wounded. Today, there are many buildings that are just standing because no one should live in there because of the fear that could be another earthquake. But in 2015, following this earthquake, that were a lot of damages inside the synagogue, it was reopened. And today, by the hour, there are interior tours with a great guide, just a little bit of security to walk in, but otherwise everything is okay. Now here I have Rabbi Rosen, the very famous rabbi, who after the war stayed in Romania. I did have the honor to meet him once in Grindelwald in Switzerland at the train station. That's where he used to spend the summers. There is there a kosher hotel. And, but to his merit, we have to say that the 200,000 Jews that came to Israel in the 60s is thanks to him, because he did the deal with Ceausescu. You see, Ceausescu and Romania was the only a communist country that never broke their ties with Israel over all the years that he ruled. So he was also very smart. He also loved himself tremendously, Ceausescu. And Rabbi Rosen had a deal with him that Israel will pay for each Jewish person, starting with a male adult, male, female, elderly people, and children. And there was a price for every one of these people that I mentioned. Now, especially if there was somebody who had a PhD, a doctorate or something, the price was double. We are talking thousands of dollars, but that's how 200,000 Jews left Romania under Ceausescu. Not always Israel gave money. Israel gave tractors because Romania at that time was still a very agricultural country. Gave tractors, gave chickens, sent barley and so on. So it was also a trade-off. So Rabbi Rosen is to be complimented on that. Here we have a picture of the youth. JDC, which is the old joint organization, maybe some of you even support it, is taking care of the youth. And in Romania, we have 4 times per year a conference that's called Bereshit, the beginning. And we gather there from a Thursday afternoon till a Sunday afternoon, a long weekend. We study, we talk, we dance, we sing, we do all the things that hopefully we go back home wherever people live and implement it. So the last one, or I should say the first one after the COVID, was the first week in November. We were on the Black Sea. We always go to nice places, and we had 450 people. So we were thrilled, and the next one is going to be between the 3rd to the 6th of March, and it's going to be in Sibiu. Sibiu is a very Germanic city, but it's a nice place. And the last picture here is from the Jewish theater. And I'm going to move to this slide. I showed you Yash up north on the map, and that's where the Jewish European Yiddish theater started, in Yash. And the founder was Abraham Goldfaden. Now, Abraham Goldfaden was not born in Romania and was not a Romanian. He was actually from Russia. Now, you see when he was born, 1840, and his family did not want him to go to the Russian army, so they brought him across the border to Romania. And he settled and integrated and became the director of the first Yiddish theater. The Romanian government, as you can see, dedicated a stamp. Unfortunately, today, there's no one in the Jewish theater that I showed you here that speaks Yiddish as a language, not as an actor that he or she learns the language. But they do perform excellent shows. The theater was undertaken by the municipality, so it's not a burden on the budget of the Jewish Federation. Here is Cluj. I mentioned Cluj. It's the Romanian Silicon Valley. And here is Tamara. Tamara is a second generation in front of the Holocaust Memorial in the park. It has 6 points here to symbolize the 6 million. Tamara's parents were deported to Auschwitz. They came back, and Tamara was born in Cluj. She was an editor of a newspaper. She's a good friend of mine. She speaks English, and I always invite her when I come to Cluj with my groups to take us around. So we spend the day with her, and she's a lovely person. So, and I'll just mention that many UK companies, German and French companies are coming to Cluj. It's a very expensive city because of so many foreigners that come to open their businesses. And it's great for graduates of the university. Cluj is one of the largest university that has also a very famous Department of Medicine. Many Israeli students who unfortunately cannot make it to get into the Hebrew U School of Medicine are going to Cluj. And then they need to have a practicum of a year to level to the same level as Israel. And here we arrive to Sighet Maramuresh. And on the left, as I look, is Elie Wiesel's house. And on the right is the beautiful part of the Carpathian Mountains. And you can see the greens, the beautiful, the way the farmers are drying their hay. As I said before, Romania was an agricultural city. It's no longer. Many, many villages are empty. Houses are empty. There are no the young generation is not there. Parents are very old. You can see some of them still working, but once they leave this world, those villages will remain empty, or who knows what will happen. Maybe they will build some towns. Now let's go to Elie Wiesel's house. Elie Wiesel was deported, as everybody else, in Sighet, May 16 to the 22nd, 1944. He was 16 years old. He had 3 sisters, mother and father. His father was very active in the community. By the way, if you never read anything by him, I would highly recommend to start with the book Night. It's only 100 pages. Some parts are a bit hard to read, but it gives you a good idea of what happened in Sighet and to his family. He survived. His father died on the marches. 1 sister didn't survive, 2 survived, 1 lived in Canada, 1 in the States. Elie Wiesel passed away about 5 years ago. I don't know if 1 sister is still, I'm not sure if 1 sister is still alive or everybody left this world. May they rest in peace. Now, he came with his son, Elisha, in the mid-90s. And he did visit Sighet, and he left. And in this house used to live 3 families. he was invited in 2002, and now I'm going to talk a little bit about the Holocaust. Romania denied of having a Holocaust because under communist regime, you were not supposed to talk, not about Judaism and not about the Holocaust. So they kept denying. However, the government wanted to belong to the EU. Well, the EU has certain requirements. One requirement was, have you had a Holocaust in your country? Well, what are they going to do? To lie? They had to admit. They invited Elie Wiesel and other historians to sit and write a report. In 2002, he completed the report, took about 1.5 to 2 years. The report was over 1,000 pages. And in 2002, it came out. And in 2007, Romania was admitted to the EU. Since 2004, by the rule of the Parliament of Romania, Romania is observing its own Holocaust Day, which is on October the 9th. Actually, every European country observes according to a specific, very dramatic event that took place in that specific country. So in Romania, the dramatic thing happened during the first week of October, which was the week between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, 1941. All Bukovina Jews that I told you that they were brought by Franz Josef to make the area very highly economic, were deported to Transnistria. Transnistria is in Ukraine. Trans means over, and Nister is a river. That area was an area for cabins of soldiers, very, how should we say, not clean, terrible situation. And that's where close to 250,000 of Jews were deported. Men, women, children, elderly people. Very few survived from there. Very, very few. And therefore, they chose October the 9th to be the yearly commemoration for the Holocaust Day. At the schools, we do observe very soon the 27th of January as being the International Holocaust Day. So in 2002, the municipality wanted to give the house back to Elie Wiesel. Elie Wiesel said, I don't need the house. However, I want you to turn the house into a museum and give proper accommodation to these 3 families. And they did. Now, during the corona, lots of places, as you probably know, found the right time because there were no visitors to restore, renovate, etc. And so this is a long name, the Elie Wiesel Memorial House, Museum of Jewish Culture from Maramuresh. And in it, I just chose a few things. Many of the items, or almost everything, is not specifically of the Wiesel family. It's a combination of things from many, many other people. So here are some religious ceremonial objects. Here, I donated the pair of scissors of Yanku, who was a tailor, and my late mother's mushroom. Once upon a time, we didn't throw socks that had holes. We used to sew them. So that's that. Here is a service of very nice dishes. Again, that's how we used to eat. That's how we used to have lots of silver cutlery. So all these things are now on display. And there is a section for storyteller, for children, for students that are coming, and so on and so forth. So the place really looks amazing. The trip is really worth it to go up north there. And here are two things. This is the one and only synagogue that we have, but there's no daily service. There's no holiday service, because we don't have enough people. So Jews, according to the halakha by the mother, are about barely 15. However, many of them are home because they are so old, in late 80s. However, during the summer, when there's a lot of tourists, we do lead services there. There is a community, there is a president, there is a secretary that takes care of the elderly. Some of those elderly people are survivors. Now, the monument was built right on top of the Great Synagogue. The Great Synagogue, unfortunately, was burned. There were some people, especially men and boys, on the days that they were supposed to go to the train station when they got the notice to be deported, they decided they will go into the synagogue, pray, with the hope that nobody will touch it. Unfortunately, it was set on fire, including the holy books, including the Torah scrolls, including everything. And at the end of the war, when the people started to come back in 1945, anytime after April, June, about 2,000 returned. Not all of them were originally from Sighet, but doesn't matter. 2,000 returned. They went to the party's offices and they said, we want to, the party, I mean the Communist Party, right? We want to create a memorial. So they needed to see, especially the wording. It says here in Yiddish that it's in memory of the korbanos, the sacrifices, the people who died. And it's the achzarische, the cruel. Here it says fascists. However, originally they wanted the Nazis. But wherever you go in Romania, all memorials do not have the word Nazi. They have the word fascist, because the Romanian Communist Party did not want to use Nazi because they were hand in hand with them. So this is the memorial. This is where we hold our ceremonies, our memorial days. That's where we bring students. I just had a program on the 25th of November, actually the last program for the season, and we started here. We started here at the memorial, lighting candles, few readings, and then we moved into the rest of the program. This I call Celebration of Life. It's a collage. It's at the City Hall next to the Council House. And I show pictures here of people from the area or from Sighet before the war, and pictures of after liberation, after the war. I never like to show pictures of Jewish people during the war, because they were taken by a photographer or photographers that hated us, that wanted to show how low, how miserable, how, like, they called us by names and so on. So I therefore, when we had the first gathering, that's another story, in 2014, 70 years, the commemoration to the deportations, and we had from all over the world 125 people. each person, whoever had any pictures, because pictures is a real treasure to have, send us, and we made this collage. It's 6 meters by 2 meters. And since 2014, there was only one individual who went to the mayor's office and asked, how long is this going to be up there? And the mayor office said, I don't know, you have to speak to Pnina. I'm still waiting for him to come and see me. I guess he was not too happy to see me. All right, we are in the city of Oradea. And in Oradea, there was a young girl that was deported to Auschwitz. She was about 16, I think, at that time or whatever. And her name was Eva Hyman. And a diary was found, and therefore we call her Romanian Anne Frank. The municipality made this special memorial for her, but I am not happy with it because the location, on one hand, is the location where she lived. The only problem is today that location is low-income people that live there. You can see a little bit the houses behind. And, you know, there's not the right profile. And also the grass is not kept. I mean, they don't do their really duty. Also, the buses with tourists are not coming there. I'm trying always to take my people. But it's important to know that there was an Eva Hyman who wrote a beautiful diary. Now, Oradea, I'm still in Oradea, had a beautiful, and it's still there, synagogue. It was called the Zion Synagogue, Zion. And this is the ceiling, just the ceiling I put on. The number of people that would sit and pray, the section of men and women was 750 seats. I believe to teach about the Holocaust less and teach about life before the war, to emphasize our cultural life. And so Tarbut, the foundation that I established in 2014, is doing many cultural programs, activities. Of course, last one was in October 2019, and this past year, we haven't really done too much. We did more on the educational side, but in 2017, together with the American Embassy in Bucharest, we brought Joshua Nelson. Maybe there are people that heard him. He's a great singer. His grandmother was Jewish from, not grandmother, great-grandmother from Bucharest, and she was an artist, and she went to New York, and there she met her husband, and the rest is history. Joshua sings beautifully. The concerts, we were on a week of a tour with the cultural attaché of the American Embassy. We started in Sighet, then we went to Cluj, then we went to Oradea, to Bucharest, Iași, and then he crossed the border to Moldova. Here he is, of course, signing an autograph. He brought his CDs. In those days, we had CDs. Okay, here we can see how lively are the Romanians. This is a little bit Romanian culture. Two young boys playing the violin. The sound of the music that they play is a combination, what we would say semi-klezmer and Roma music. But they definitely are very lively, and families will do everything if there is a talent to a child. Now, here in the market, you can see hand-knitted warm socks for the winter, and some onions and some garlic. And that's what the old ladies make their livelihood beside the pension money, which is very little. Now here on this tree, what you see, these pots, I want to tell you about it. If you have a daughter that has to get married, you put as many pots, if you're a rich person, on the tree. So what happens? Two things. Number one, some people are knocking at your door. Can we meet your daughter with so-and-so? Some kind of a shadchan type of style. And then, of course, they know how rich you are by the number of the pots. So when you travel across Romania, usually at the end of the spring, these trees start to bloom with pots. Because usually the weddings are in August. August is a very busy month in Romania. Come in September, it's beautiful. Okay, food.
Penina, I just want to interrupt very quickly. I'm so sorry. Hello, everyone. My name is Donnie. Many of you would have known me before, helping to organize. Penina, thank you so much for this incredible presentation. I just want to be aware of the time. We have about 7 minutes before we close. Penina, are you okay to stay on a little bit longer in case people have questions that they would like to ask? And I also want to ask you if it's okay to go ahead and put your email in the chat for everyone to see, so they can take it down if they have any follow-up questions, if they'd like to book tours in the future with you. I know some have to leave right on time, so they may not be able to get in touch with you. So if you want to put your email address in the chat, that would be wonderful. And please continue the tour, the presentation. And there's a lot of questions that have come up. I just want to give you a heads up.
Okay, lovely. Mara, maybe put also the website, okay? Thank you. All right, food. Are you ready? I hope I don't make you too hungry. There is the mamaliga, okay? Here that some of us eat fancy polenta, Italian. I want to bring to your attention something interesting. You see, there is a piece of rope here. I purposely took this picture. They don't cut with a knife. The less contact between the metal and the mamaliga is better, the taste remains. Now, mamaliga is cornmeal, okay? Then we are going to go to papanash. What's a papanash? Papanash is a donut with a hole, and then they make another small one and they put on top. And then they give you lots and lots of sour cream, no diets here, folks, and blueberry jam. Then we have chremsli that we just finished to eat so many for Hanukkah, potato pancakes. And the last one is when you go in the country and you have breakfast, that's what you get, a meat, veggies, and different kinds of cheeses, especially goat and sheep, and then they have their own combinations and they present you with this platter. Now, Romania had a number of empires, as we discussed before, historically, and also their neighbors. So in Maramuresh, where my mother's family comes from, because there were so many Jews, the idea of the chremsli is exactly an influence of the Jewish people. And this business of the papanash is also some kind of a influence. So we did influence them on the food. All right. Tarbut, the foundation, has basically two missions. Mission number one is to do genealogy research for descendants, either from total Romania or from this region, and to follow up with a roots family journey. So here I brought two pictures. This young gentleman was here in 2018. He was already 83. He brought his two sons with their wives and a daughter and his wife. And we had a specific tour. I meet with the people, either face-to-face or Zoom or telephone, whatever medium. And we discuss, I create a proper itinerary specifically for the needs and what they want to see. We obtain documents, we visit mayors. Here is the meeting in Botiza. Today is a small town that this gentleman came to Botiza and met the mayor. This is the register. He saw the registration of his name in order to get his birth certificate, as it used to be in those days. And he saw who signed it. Usually there were 3 people who used to have to come and sign that true Moshe was born to this family, and he obtained his birth certificate. So that was a happy occasion. And here we have a lady that wasn't so happy after all. She wanted to go to the city hall. I took her to the city hall. She kept saying she came with her 2 sons only, just the 3 of them. And she used to say, I'm 85. Well, we opened the books. Guess what? She was 90 already then. She's very well. I'm in touch with her. And she met a colleague from her school. We met him. And she recognized him, whatever, and this is a lovely picture of both of them. Unfortunately, this gentleman passed away last year. I remain in touch with them, and the younger generation keeps me posted and asks questions or whatever. All right, this is the cemetery, and it is a very painful situation. Here is a picture of a cemetery that is completely unrecognizable, as you can see, lots of trees. And I'll just briefly tell you, during communism time, after the war, the municipality would choose a guard. He will watch the cemetery, but he got permission to plant fruit trees, especially plums, nuts, and I don't know, peaches or something, fruit trees. And what happens is that over the years, the roots are spreading and they shake the earth. In those days, people didn't have money for marble monuments, matzevas. They were having stone, cement, and with the time, they just got deteriorated, and many, many places look like this. It's a very painful place. Now, on the other hand, we find this very unique and special matzeva from the north. In Bukovina, they are very, very special matzevot. Now, what do we see here is, number one, it was guarded. It's not exactly an ohel, but something like it. So nobody else, the whole piece of ground there belongs to them. And what it says here, there's no name, but what it says, Met Rishon HaChevra. He died the first in the group. And underneath it says, Or Hadash, a new light. And then the rest, it is a man. And they highly speak about him. But that's the kind of a matzeva, of a monument that you can find in Bukovina especially. Now, the picture here is in today's hotel in Sighet, was a villa belonging to a lawyer. And I just want to show that he chose to decorate his house with Magen David. So He also had the floors with a Magen David, but that I found when I was there the first time in '98. Now they changed the floors. Basically, they took it over. Okay, one of our other programs that we do, I told you about the mission for genealogy and tours. The other one, because I'm a person of education, an educator of Jewish heritage, of Holocaust studies, I had this initiative to take the first group of students from Sighet to Krakow and Auschwitz. It was supported almost fully by a group of teachers from the United States. We just did one tour in 2018. I wish to have more people that can help us. And now that hopefully everything is fine, we can take another one in the spring. Now, it's not that if Ion, that's a Romanian name, wants to join, he just comes. They had to do something. So they had an option of 3 books that they need to read, and one of them only out of the 3. And they had to write something about it. And also, why is this trip to Auschwitz and to Krakow? Well, Krakow, we did some shopping, but the rest, was different. Why was it so important? And so we had this group. We had also 4 teachers. We had 1 librarian from the public library in Sighet. It was an amazing tour. When they came back, each student that belonged to a specific school, because there are 8 high schools in Sighet, they had an assembly, and the students had a presentation. Some of them were interviewed on the local TV and on the local radio. So this way, we continue to spread and to teach what they have seen. And I always tell them that they become our ambassadors. Each one of them is our ambassador to tell the story. And with this, I finished. I thank you very much. Mulțumesc, the way we say in Romanian. I hope you enjoyed it. I created some interest. If you've been to Romania, it's very large. You can always come. We don't just do tours that are geared only to Jews. We do general tours. I'll just tell you that this past summer, I had a couple, Jewish from one of the states, from one of the cities next to Boston, and he is an amateur photographer. And we went half of Romania to look for interesting pictures, not just the Jewish synagogues, but also landscape and special monasteries and et cetera. So we cater to all types of people. To me, it's important to bring people to Romania. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Penina, or Mulțumesc. We have so many questions in the chat, but I think it's best to leave your slide up here, and so people can reach out to you. We know that the history and the culture of the Romanian Jewish community is vast, so it's very hard to stick it into 1 hour. But I just want to thank you. We really, really enjoyed this. And Donnie, is there any last
just a suggestion, if people want to take a picture of the slide that's on the screen right now, that way you can have Penina's email there, and for those who are watching at home on the recording as well. But just for those who are listening, it's penina118@gmail.com, PENINAH 118@gmail.com. And I don't want to speak for Penina, she's here right now, but I can imagine she would love to be in touch with you and love to get your questions. There were a lot of questions, really beautiful questions, and I'm sure that
just pick 1 or 2. I just
it's impossible, Penina. It's not fair. There's so many. And we do like to take first come, first serve. So there were some questions that came on at the very beginning as well. So I really don't want to frustrate anyone else's plans. Some have different meetings to go to and whatnot, but I do know that many people will be in touch with you because it was an incredible turnout. And once again, Penina, thank you so much. Mara, thank you for organizing this. And we can't wait to see you next month on another virtual presentation.
Tour of Jewish Iraq is next, so we look forward. Okay, so we will follow up with the recording, and we wish you all well. Multamesk to everyone.
Lovely. Bye-bye. Shalom. Litraot. Thank you.